Good morning everybody and welcome back to the video. In this video, I'm gonna teach you how to insert data from JDBC sources into your transactional data lake without AWS DMS or Debezium. So we're gonna capture the inserts, we're gonna capture the updates and only bring incremental data into our transactional data lake. So let's see everything in action. First, we need a Postgres database as a source for the demo purposes. So let me share my screen. So we are going to use Postgres, and here is the Docker Compose file. So this will essentially spin up Postgres on port 5432. So let's basically start the Docker container. My Docker container has now started. Now that we have our Postgres running, now we are going to essentially run a Python file called ingest.py. This Python file will create a table called sales in the public schema in the database Postgres, and it's going to populate with some fake data. We are also going to create a trigger, which is also baked into the Python code, and I'll basically talk more about the triggers shortly. This is the SQL command. Again, this is all baked into the Python code. The Python code is again going to create a table called sales, and as you can see, there is a column called updated at and a sales ID. Sales ID is a primary key which essentially auto increments, and updated at is a column. Anytime you update a record, it's gonna basically update the timestamp. Now, since when I update a record, I essentially want that particular column to be updated, right? I'm gonna set up a trigger. Let me show you that process now. So here you can see this is the command for setting up trigger. So this trigger is pretty straightforward, right? Anytime you update any record in Postgres in the public schema in the table sales, automatically the column called updated at, it's gonna basically update the timestamp whenever that update happened. Now let's see everything in action, right? So what I'm gonna do is, as I said, I'm gonna run this Python file ingest.py. So let's run that. Again, this Python file will create the table, will create the trigger, and essentially populate with some fake data. As you can see, now if I refresh, I do see a table called sales. And if I wanna run a quick query here, just to show you, we'll do select star from. And here you can see we have some data to play with. Now that we have some data in Postgres table, now let's take a look at the template. Let's run the template and see everything in action. Before we run the template, here is the entire flowchart diagram, what the template does. Again, this is the entire logic. Again, if you want to dive deep into the logic, I have a link in the description which you can check. The article essentially describes everything. But for now, let's simply run the template and see everything in action. So I'm gonna run this massive template that I have wrote, right? So I'm gonna run this. So now I'm running the template for the first time, so it does make sense. So the checkpoint is not present, so the template is gonna pull all the records from the source database. The next time if I run, I should not be seeing any data. So let's wait for this to happen. So again, the template is in the running state. And here you can see, here is where I have declared all the variables: JDBC URL, table name, username, password, the primary key, the column which essentially has the updated date time object, right? And so let's see this in action. So here you can see the template has pulled the data, right? As you can see. Now if I run the template, I should not be seeing data since I've already processed the data, and the template is essentially saving the checkpoints. So let's see that in action. So here you can see the PK, which is auto incrementing, right? So again, we see the data. That's great. Now I'm again running the template. At this point, as you can see, the checkpoint was found. So I should be seeing an empty data frame, which usually makes sense since I've already processed the data. Meanwhile, I just wanted to show you, here you can see the template essentially stores the checkpoint. As you can see, there is no data to process, which does make sense, and I do not see any data. Now I'm gonna simply make an update over here, and let's see if the template can get that. So here you can see I'm adding star, and I'm gonna click on save object. Oops, I wanna click on save object. And here you can see the record has been updated. Due to triggers, the date time will be automatically updated. Let's see if the template can capture now. So I'm gonna run the template again. The checkpoint is found. So now again, it's gonna resume from that point, and it's gonna perform the incremental queries and only get the updated data. So let's see that in action. So let's wait for a second or two. And here you can see we got that star and that the particular record which was updated. Amazing, right? Now that we have a way to essentially capture, insert and updates from the source database, let's essentially write the code or add the code to insert this data into a transactional data lake such as Apache Hudi. So let's see that in action. Now let's take a look at the complete entire code, right? So I'm gonna share my screen. So the first step is we define all the imports over here, right? So that's basically pretty simple. Step 2, we define the Spark session, and I have essentially passing all the packages that I need. Here I'm passing in the Postgres package and I'm passing the Hudi package. Step 3, this is where we define all the settings. So here you can see this is my JDBC URL where I want to pull the data from, right? Here is the table name in the schema. It's in the schema, public schema, and the table name is sales. The username is Postgres, the password is Postgres, the primary key is sales ID. The updated at column name is updated at. That's the column that I have in my source table, right? Driver, I'm gonna use org.postgres SQL driver. Again, here is the Hudi settings. So here the database name is HudiDB, the table name is sales, the record key is sales ID, which is again a unique identifier in my data, right? This is the path to my transactional data lake. I'm again running everything on my computer. Precom key is a column called updated at, which is again a timestamp, which is anytime you update the record, the timestamp essentially increments. Then we are using upsert and the table type is copy on write, and again pretty straight settings that I have defined. And again, these are all the helper class. Again, we talked about this, right? So again, these are all the helper class that we talked about, right? And now basically we're gonna say alright, so now we are going to insert into the Hudi data lake. So I'm going to call the function get spark data frame. Again, that's going to figure out all the incremental stuff and it's going to return me the spark data frame at the end of the day. Now I'm going to run the code. So for the first time when I run, the checkpoint is not there. Again, it's going to pull all the data into the Hudi transactional data lake. So let's wait and see if we see the data in the transactional data lake, right? So what I'm going to do, if I refresh here, I should be seeing the Hudi data lake created shortly, okay? And I just want to show you that. So we're gonna wait. Again, this particular template does everything, right? It essentially does that incremental query that we were talking about. And as you can see, it essentially printed the Spark data frame, and then again, now it's gonna do an upsert on the transactional data lake. Hudi DB, sales, and here you can see my Parquet files and the Hudi metadata. Okay, so that makes sense, right? Now, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna update a record and I'm gonna show you that that particular record will be updated, so I'm gonna do so I'll essentially update this. Again, I run the template. So now it is gonna resume from the checkpoint, right, automatically, and it's only gonna pull that incremental data, right? So now I should be only seeing that particular record, sawmill updated, right? And again, that particular record will go into my Hudi transactional data lake. Here you can see sawmill updated, right, as you can see. Now, again, I can read from the Hudi data lake as well. So I can pretty much do, again, here you can see all the data from the Hudi data lake. Again, the steps should make sense, right? So essentially, we were able to, get the inserts, get the update from a source database, and we were able to get them incrementally. We are not scanning the entire table every time, because as the table size grows, and for massive table, you don't want to basically scan the entire table. Again, it takes more and more time for processing data, you're wasting resources, and also you're paying more cost because you're processing the same data again and again. With this technique, now you don't need Debezium, you do not need AWS DMS, and you can pull incremental data from any JDBC source using this technique. Thank you so much for watching. Keep smiling, keep programming. If you have questions, let me know in the comment section below.